Well, hello everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the second video challenge of April. Yes, we're still in April. This is the second challenge of the month, and today we're going to handle some textured type. Some of my favorite. I love some distressed type. We're going to get into that in a moment, but chat, settle down. Chat. I'm just saying. Chat's already rolling me. It's okay. What's up, everybody? How's it going? We are on Behance and YouTube, so you got places to check us out. Thanks so much, Val, for being a mod for us today. What's up, Bliss, Robert, Oliver? Penny's in chat as well over on YouTube. So good to see all of you. Let's see. Where do we start? Well, I gave everyone a starter file if you want to look at it. We got grungy going on here. Now, this starter file is a little different than most of my starter files. Most of the time, I just give you bits and pieces so that you can create this. This is kind of a full-on, just a source file resource. If you wanted to use it, you can just go right in, figure it out. But that's what I'm here for today, to kind of walk through this. But we're going to start real simple, real simple texture type that anybody can grasp all of this that we're going to do today. There will be a few expressions and a few other things, but let's go ahead and start with this most simple use, our way of getting to textured type. I'm going to make a new composition. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our transparency. Control T to get to the type tool. And I'm going to type, let's see. Whoa, what's going on? Okay, let's hang on just a minute. We've already off to a good start. Okay. Let's see, Adobe Live. Okay. Let's grab this and, I don't know, let's try to align it. It is aligned, but it is, needs to be more aligned. How about that? All panels, please. After Effects, what are you doing to me? Oh, no. Okay, good. It's not locking up yet. Okay, we're just trying to move this over. I was going to use the align tool. I could have just done it myself. But we are going to come back to Cubano, but that's this typeface. But I wanted to share with you guys some typefaces that are already distressed. And one of the ones I really like is this PF Fuel. This is from our good friends over at fonts.adobe.com. You can find it there. There's a couple more. I think Val has the links for these. I will show you what they are real quick. I also like to use on occasion this, Pulpo Rust. This one's really cool. I won't get too far into it. Let me fix this. I'm gonna do this all caps. Adobe Live. Pulpo Rust is really fun because it has variations where it just it gets a little bit more or less, depending on which way you go, more textured. So you've got options over there. And then also Salvation is another one, and it's a lot of fun. But we're going to stick with PF Fuel for now. Okay, we're done. Texture type. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. No, we're not done. We're not done. What we're going to do now is, there's nothing really happening here. We can add a simple texture. Like I said, this first little method is going to be fairly simple. I'm going to jump into my libraries, and I'm going to grab a couple of files that I found over on stock.adobe.com, and they're just some textures. I'm going to adjust this, just bring this down a little bit so we can see it contrast-wise. And then I am also going to grab a concrete texture. And it just looks like this. Nothing crazy, nothing too fancy about it. It's just a concrete file. But we can use it to be a matte our lettering with it by grabbing the pick whip next to the track matte and just selecting that. And right now, you don't really see a lot going on because we're stuck on the alpha matte. And there is no alpha on this. It's a solid image. There's no alpha. But if I were to change this, change this to Luma, where it's using the light values to use as the matte. Now I can select this texture and move it around, and you can kind of see a little bit of motion, but we can make it even crunchier by just adding a curves effect. And I will turn this back on so you can see what I'm doing. We'll just grab curves, wow. Curves, there we go. And I'm just gonna bring this all the way super stark. And I can actually make this a lot lighter as well, so I can make it really kind of crispy. And you could come in here and desaturate it if you only wanted the light and dark without any color value. You could do that. Not really necessary for this, but I'm going to turn that back off. And now you can see, if I hide this curves, you can see it has gotten a lot crunchier. So we can work with this. We can make a little something. Now with only 4 keyframes. 4 keyframes and a little expression, we can make this a little bit more active. You following along, chat? Wait, we need a Wade wait emote. Uh-oh, what's happening? Am I going too fast? What's happening? All right, so we got some crispy texture. Let's see. What was I doing? Okay, yes. So now with only 4 keyframes, and you can use as many as you want. I'm just trying to show the quickest example that works. I'm going to add a keyframe to the position attribute, move down the timeline 1 frame, and then move this over to somewhere else that looks interesting. And I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see what we got here. These are individual keyframes, and I'm going to move over, move our texture again, move over, and move our texture again. And now, if I play this back, it's going to be super quick. Boop. That's all it does. I'll scrub through, and it's just moving around. Well, that's all good, but if I were to stretch this out to about a second, which is what I'm going to do, you would see some frame interpolation happening. I'm going to go ahead and hold down Alt and grab this front one, hold down Alt, maybe pull it out to like 15 frames. And now you can see that this is moving. That's not exactly what we want. We want to make sure we hold the frame so that it looks like it's jumping around. If you're going for something that's like kind of stop motion-y, and you get something like this. But now you're like, well, I'm not going to keep spacing out, keep making keyframes. Super simple. Alt or Option Shift and equal, and just add a loop out. Start typing loop out, press enter, enter on the number pad, and now you have an expression that loops this out, and we're good to go. Super simple. We made a texture type even more textured with a little bit of motion, but I don't think it's enough motion. I want it to look like maybe a printing press that's being shifted around, or letters somewhere that's being moved around, maybe with stop motion. How would we do that? Well, we've got a really cool thing we can do with the type. I'm going to move this type layer up because the order is not dependent. None of these effects so far are dependent on the order. And Val is saying we are the trolls here. That's right. Okay. Just checking in on chat. I am looking at YouTube as well. Okay. So we've got something going on. Let's add a little bit more movement with going into our text, and on that attribute, you will have an option to animate. We're going to animate a property, a position property. And that's going to add a range selector. We're not going to mess with the range selector. In fact, you don't even need it for this. But if I go to this position, it's just going to act like a normal position. Just like your normal transform position. You will go up and down, or left to right, X, Y values. And no issue, but that's not what we're looking for. We want to move these individually. Well, there is another thing we can add under selector, a little randomizer called wiggly. And if we wiggle this, if we move this back and forth, this height position, this Y value, you can see that it's wiggling around. We could animate that. We could put a hold keyframe on it, loop it, do all this stuff, or we could just use an expression. And I'm going to bump this up just a little bit. But in this wiggly selector, a couple of things you're going to want to do to make it that choppy look. We want to have 0 frames, 0 wiggles a second, I should say. And it is still active. If we turn it off, turn it on, you can see that it's doing it. You don't have to have a value in there. But we're going to animate this random seed. And we're going to do that. Shift Alt equal. Or Shift Option equal. Careful. Careful, everybody. And then in random seed, we're going to use a random expression. Type in random. Now, you can have two numbers. You can't have two integers in this. All it's going to do is if you put in a number, let's put in like 1,000. It is saying 0 to 1,000. There will be a random number that it will hit for every frame. If you put in 100 to 1,000, it will start at 100 and go to 1,000. So it'll never be 99. It'll never be 65. It will never be that number. So you can have two integers if you want that in there. And what does this random do? Let's find out. Do a little play blast, and now we've got nothing happening. What did I do wrong? Must have turned something. Oh, I turned it off. You got to turn it on to make it work. So now we've got it, and this would be fine. This would be okay. It's a little boiling. It's a little active. And you may want this for some reason. But there's a couple of things we can do here because we've done this before. I think we even did it last week. We can just add an expression called posterize time, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because we can add that expression on this random seed, and it would let us still be able to use that text layer and animate it as normal. So I'm going to go down here and go down one line for our expression and start typing in posterize time. And all posterize time does is resets your frame rate to the desired frame rate. So I'm going to put it at 4, and then we've got something that looks like this. So yes, that was a lot. We're going to do it again, but we're going to do it a little bit more procedurally this time. In fact, we're going to start all over. Let's make a new layer, click OK, Control T, type in our Adobe Live. But this time, let's use a font that is not distressed. Let's use, let's see, Cubano is the one I believe of. Yes, Cubano. I love this font. I really like it. Enjoy looking at it. I'm going to go ahead and align this to the center for just good measure. Already you can see it's too clean. The edges are not great. We can do a little bit of roughen edges on this to get us a little bit closer. Roughen edges, apply that. Make sure you're selected on the layer you want to. And then in this case, I do want this really sharp. You can already see it gave us some wiggle. So if I increase this, you can make it really crazy. But I'm going to make this pretty sharp. I may bring the scale down. A lot of this today is to taste. Whatever you guys want, how you feel like your things should be grungified or distressed. You're going to have to play with some of these things to get where you want to go with it. But we need a texture, and I don't want to just grab one. I want to make one this time. I'm going to make a new solid. That color actually doesn't matter. I'm going to name this texture. I cannot spell today. Texture. I'm going to drop this behind here so we can still see our type eventually. In fact, I'm going to hide the type because we're going to work on this for just a second. We're going to go over to our good friend Fractal Noise. Wow, Fractal Noise. And we're going to have a few settings. I do not want this on the type layer. Sorry. Delete. Make sure you're on the texture layer. Copy and paste that. Now we have our fractal noise. And we're trying to make this like crunchy and super dark and light. Let's get to it. I'm going to bump this contrast up to like, I don't know. I'm just going to punch in the numbers. 1200. And then brightness, going to bring this way up because these are the little things that are going to, somewhere over 200 works pretty well, but they're kind of soft still. So I'm going to make this, scale this up a little bit because I want them to be a little bit bigger, a little bit chunkier. Under the complexity, if I take this down, they get softer. I don't want that. I want this to be all the way to the crunchiest, most detailed I can get it. So I'm also going to jump into subsettings, and you can see this also makes it softer. I'm going to make it a little bit crunchier, and then let's see, maybe like 100 or so, and maybe bring the scale down just to add a little bit more throughout. If I bring this down a little bit, if I go too far, it starts to look like. Uh-oh, I went way too far. The other way. If I go, let's see. Yeah, if I go too far down, it starts to look like little dots. I'm not looking for that. I want to be somewhere in the 30 range. Just so I have little chunks, little things missing. And we have a texture. I believe we're ready to go on this texture. I'm going to grab our type, turn it back on, and then pick whip the track matte over to our texture. We don't see it because it is also on just alpha matte. I want to invert it, but turn on, I don't want to invert it. I just want to turn on the Luma matte, so then it knocks out the areas that aren't white. So there we have a texture type. And we could do the whole thing where we animate 4 keyframes and blah, blah, blah. No, we're going to use a little bit of what we just did by using the random seed again. And if you ever want to get to the random seed and start from the effects control panel, you can just hold down Alt or Option and click random seed. And we're going to put in the same 2 expressions that we did before posterized time, because we know we want it to be kind of choppy. And I'm going to put in 4, press enter and go down to the next line, and then we're going to do random, enter, and like 1,000, and we should have, there we go, we've got our little already textured animated texture going on, and we're getting close. So we're going to start to shape this up a little bit. So we've done this. We can also, let's see. We can also animate the type like we did before. So clicking back on the type, go to this text attribute, animate position, go to add selector again, wiggly. And let's see, let's do the same thing we did before. We can make all of this happen. I do want to bump this up a little bit. Make sure you turn off your wiggles per second. I mean, normally that might be a good thing if you like, wiggle around every few seconds. Keep the blood flowing, that's fine. In this case, we want it set to 0. And then on this effect, again, I want to go to evolution options. Nope, I'm in the wrong place. Random seed, there we go. On the wiggle selector, wiggly selector, random seed, shift, alt, or option equal. And then we're going to add random again, 1,000. And then we should have something boiling, and then we can do again the posterized time. You could again just apply a posterized time effect. Super simple, but I just want to make sure this gets driven home today. So we've got this going on. It's looking okay. We're fine. It's fine. But we can also add other attributes to this. So we've had our random seed. We've got our position. If we go back to our animator, we can now add another property. Let's add rotation. And if we move this up, now we get something kind of wild, something like this. Don't really like that. I think that's too much rotation. But let's make it about 5. And it's also, you can tell it's rotating from the bottom. Like if I make this go back and forth, this is rotating from the bottom of those letters. You can change that position by going into more options, grouping alignment. Now you probably won't be able to see this, but look at the bottom of look at the white areas of the type. And I'm going to move this up, and you should see a little bit of red dot. Super tiny, maybe hard to see. And I'm just trying to make it, eyeball it to about the center of the letters. Because what that does is it'll make you be able to use this rotation, and they're rotating from the middle and not just from... Now, you may want it to be from the bottom or even further from the bottom. But since that effect is already being... the random seed with the effect with the expressions on it already on, it's already going to posterize that, so we get a little bit more wiggly going on. Now let's shape it. We've got a few minutes here. Let's try to make this a little bit better. I don't know. Are we up to the challenge? Let's find out. Under properties, let's use a little bit of color theory. I'm going to try to choose like an orangish. And I think, yes, Val is our mod, so gotta respect Val. And I think we're going to bring in our background from earlier. Boom. And I'm going to, how do I want to do this? I'm going to add a purple. This is what I mean by respecting Val. Dark purple background. Click OK. Bring it below this, and I think I'm just going to bring the opacity down. Something like that. Okay, so we've got something. It's looking okay. It's looking all right. We can make it go even further. This is going to be pretty tight, but I think we can add a little bit of extra around the edges. To do that, Control D to duplicate. I'm going to bring both of these down here. And I'm going to turn off, make sure we don't have a matte on this. I'm going to go rapid fire here, guys, so keep up. I'm going to change this to white. You could do this because this is kind of cool too. Because of the random seed, they're not going to be aligned ever. So you could just have some effect like that. But I want to go a little bit further. And I'm going to add a stroke to this that's white. And I'm going to use this stroke as a little bit of a matte. And what I'm going to do is take that track matte, grab our second texture, and then we're going to invert this. And if I want this to look like the same level or the same color, then I'm going to add a tint to this, to our type layer that we're using as a matte. And I'm going to grab that yellow. And now it looks like we have a little bit of extra going along the outside. We can adjust that. We can adjust that as much as we want. In fact, we still got a little bit of time. I'm going to go right up to the end here, guys. We may get the band hammer. But just so you know, if I turn this off, say no matte, these edges may not be rough enough for you. You already have everything built in. You can increase the border on that, and it won't end the scale if you want. You can do a bunch of things on that to make it not so regular or uniform, and then you can just turn that back on, and then maybe even adjust. I don't know what else do we want to adjust. We can add an an adjustment layer to everything, and then we can really start maybe a fast box blur of some sort, just to kind of smooth things out slightly. A classic unsharpened mask, if I can spell. Man, I have mistyped so many times. Okay, and then we can... Do I want to do it on this? I don't know. Yeah, we can bump up the radius on that a little bit. Give it a little bit of crazy effect. Maybe that's too much. On that texture, we can decrease or increase the contrast to make that a little bit less. And then you get some really kind of distressed type going on. Hopefully there's a few things in here you guys can use to make your own little animations. You could even then take it and do a preset like a typewriter. Now you would have to add this to both. So let me do it this way. I will press typewriter on that type, typewriter on that type, grab both of them, press U to reveal their keyframes, and I'll just move this down, and then you could have like a typewriter effect. You know, so there's more things you can do with it if you'd like. We got a little bit of time. Do we? No, I don't think we do. I think that's going to be it for us today. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Ellie is up next, but if you want to catch more of this craziness, we'll be live on Thursday. Also, Jack and Val, which are both in the chat right now, will be with me on Thursday live in the studio. So definitely come back for that. But until then, have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you guys real soon. Hopefully on Thursday. All right. Bye, everybody.